Hi, welcome to AJ Speaks. I'm AJ, and this is my testimony. Um, Testify to the goodness of God, to His saving grace, His love. Just testify to how wonderful He is. This is my attempt to share who I am, where I've been, and who God is and who He is to me, and what He's done for me and what He's done in my life. I said, I've been in St. Louis, is where I've remained for, so far in sharing my testimony. Well, when I left St. Louis, I moved to Kansas City. When I left St. Louis, I was 6 months into my third pregnancy. And I guess I'll share about the day when the Lord spoke to me to go to Kansas City. Well, my sister, my older sister that's right above me, she had moved to Kansas City earlier in the year, and she moved back to St. Louis. Well, at this time, she had decided that she was going to move back to Kansas City. And she's the mother of two of my nieces, and they're like my own children. And well, this particular Saturday, she was going to go back to Kansas City to tie things up, and the girls were going to stay with me. And well, that Saturday, I had a doctor's appointment. And it was odd to me that they had made me a doctor's appointment on a Saturday, but I had to get in. And so I went to the doctor that Saturday. And when I got to the doctor's office, the office was closed. And so I wasn't happy about that. Well, I went back to the salon and I sat there. And I hadn't scheduled any appointments, and again, it was another day where no clients were coming in, no walk-ins. So I decided to go ahead and go home. 6 months pregnant. I'm tired. I'm irritated. The doctor wasn't there, So I go home, and her guy were ready, were there with the girls. And when she got ready to go, she said, well, I'm getting ready to go. And I said, well, I'm coming with you. And so when I said that, she was like, you coming, because I think she was coming back like that Monday. She's like, did I want to just come for the weekend and, come back home, and she would move and I would stay in St. Louis. Well, when I opened my mouth, the words came out, no, I'm coming to Kansas City with you. I'm going to move there. And again, as those words came out of my mouth, it was a surprise to me, But like it looked like God said that I'm coming to Kansas City, so that's what I'm going to do. Well, we went to Kansas City that Saturday, and by that Monday, I've been approved to have the apartment right next door. It was like not like an apartment stack, but like a flat. I don't remember what you call them, but more than duplexes. It was more than two, but just connected apartments. And the Lord made a way for me to get the one right next door to her. And so that made it pretty much official. I had a place to live there, within 2 days. And I moved. I let my clients know, that I was going to be moving to St. Louis. But just to keep myself afloat, that I would come back on Tuesdays. And, I would book that whole Tuesday up, to make money to survive and go back. Well, that's what I did for maybe 2-3 months. I don't remember, but I did that. I would get on the train and go back to St. Louis, 6 months, 7 months pregnant. And one day on this train, well, I believe that the Lord put it on my heart, and spoke out of my face that I was going to Kansas City, going to move to Kansas City to be there for my nieces. Because I know my sister, she's going to work 2 jobs and they wouldn't have anybody, but her. And she's going to work, to take care of them the best way that she could, which would leave them alone a lot of times, And so that was one of the, reasons, if I had to say that, I didn't question why he sent me and why I was there. I was there for my nieces. And, but one day, my older son, he was in school. The girls were in school, but I had a 4-year-old daughter, and she wasn't in school yet, and I didn't have childcare for her, but my sister would watch her, when I went on the train to go back to St. Louis to do hair. Well, this particular had to be like Monday evening or whatever. My sister had an appointment, and she wasn't able to keep my daughter, so she had to go back on the train with me. When we get to the train station, and there was a girl in front of me, and I recognized her, from St. Louis. Well, it's early in the morning. I'm very pregnant and have this very busy toddler. And so I kind of, if she didn't recognize or acknowledge me, I wasn't going to let on that I recognized her, and I wasn't going to acknowledge her. So, because I just wasn't interested in the superficial hellos and the charm and all that. I just didn't know what to expect, and I didn't want that, so I didn't encourage it. Well, like I said, I got this little girl busy running around, and she had the girl that I saw in the line, she had her husband with her, and they had 2 toddlers. Well, my daughter and those 2 little boys, they made fast friends, and they were busy in the train station, and pretty much it made it hard for me not to interact with the lady in the line that I recognized. Well, when she turned around, she instantly recognized me, and so, of course, we smiled and said, hello, I know you, and you look familiar, and we went to the same high school, and we knew each other enough to we recognized each other. We weren't never friends in school. She was a couple of years behind me, but she went to school with my brother, in his grade. And after we talked and said hello and, laugh about the kids and, just how they were interacting and stuff. Well, I thought, even at that point, I'm thinking, well, Her husband's gonna be on the train with her. We'll get on the train and we'll settle down, settle the kids down, and she'll ride the train with her husband, and me and my daughter, we'll go on. Well, her husband was actually dropping them off at the train station, and it was just going to be her and the kids. And so I guess I neglected to say that the hello was genuine, and us meeting each other in the line was a genuine interest. Hello, how you doing? We talked and everything. So we got on the train and we sat by each other, and the kids were busy, and come to find out, she loves the Lord, and I love the Lord. And we talked, and we just talked and shared the whole train ride to St. Louis, and she invited me when she said, well, when she gets back, because she wouldn't be back for maybe a week or two after I got back. But when she got back, she invited me to come to her church. And she was telling me about what they call cell groups or life groups, and that's just where, a group of families, people in the church, get together in each other's homes and meet and study, and we eat together and we do however the Lord leads that group. Well, she invited me to come to her group, and said the senior pastor would be in her group, and she just really was interested in having me come. And so after the 2 weeks was up, and she got back to St. Louis, got back to Kansas City, I called her, and she always, if I pick up the phone and call her today, she'll say, my little friend, and but she invited me. The groups were on Thursday night, so I packed up me and them 2 babies, and my 2 nieces, and we would go every Thursday to what is my very first experience in a body of believers that was and is, even with the distance, family, people from all walks of life. My senior pastor, he was pastor for, in Amsterdam for many years. I gained sisters from New Zealand, from the Netherlands, from Hawaii, from Guam, from Korea, from China. I mean, this group was mixed, and it was just awesome, and I don't know, that was a divine appointment on that train ride, her being there that day. And I was so blessed to have met her on that train that day, and for God to put it on her heart to graft me in, to that body of believers. And it was just awesome time. Met great people. Well, after, we said, maybe 2 months, and then 7, almost 8 months into this pregnancy, it got to be too hard to get on that train and go and do hair and be on my feet, like that. So I had to finally let go of my clientele in St. Louis and found a salon in Kansas City. And when you're doing booth rental, it's not easy to build a clientele, and God blessed me, to find a guy that would give me an opportunity, to get a start, to try to build a clientele, before I owed him any money to pay the booth rent. Well, I would sit in that salon every day and never get a customer. And, it's bittersweet because I was too far along to really, get down and work a full workload. But what he'd do was give me his clients to shampoo their hair, because I wasn't having any walk-ins, so I wasn't able to put my work out there. And no matter how much advertisement you do, when it comes to hair, you build by word of mouth. And if they can't see what you can do, they're not going to just, trust you to do their hair. So he would let me shampoo his customers. And at the end of the week, he would pay me, and to me, that's another blessing, a miracle of God, because, people like that don't, just like they say, they don't grow on trees, especially in the hairstyling business. It is a very competitive arena, and people don't take kindly to you doing their customers. A lot of them don't want you touching their customers. So for him to bring me in brand new, not knowing me from Adam, and allow me to come in with my pregnant self and shampoo his customers and look after me, make sure that I was going to be okay. Well, in my, at the end of my third trimester, I went to St. Louis to visit and to surprise my sister, because her little boy's birthday. It was her little boy's birthday, and I surprised her by showing up, because with me leaving St. Louis and taking my two nieces, that was the bulk of his little cousins, So I had taken away the bulk of the party for him. He had friends and other cousins, but out of our core group, I had the bulk of the kids. We had them in Kansas City, so the family came and got us and brought us to surprise him. His birthday party was that Saturday, and I was going to go home that Sunday. Well, lo and behold, when I laid down to go to sleep that Saturday night, I went into labor. And got to the hospital an hour later. I had a little boy. And so he was born in St. Louis, and spent that, the day they released me, maybe the next day I had to get in that car and come on back. And I had a son in school. My nieces and my son, they went back, that Sunday. I can't remember, but they had to go back because they had to go to school and everything. And then when I was able to go, next day or two, and I went back to Kansas City. Well, now here I am with a newborn baby, and can't just go back to the salon and work. So I made it the best way I could, and my new church family, they just took me under their wings, and me, those kids, and my nieces. And they took care of us, after I've been there for after the baby was born, maybe a month or two. Then they got together and they moved me from the apartment that I was in, It was like in the inner city, and they moved me out, to the south part of Kansas City. And it was closer. It was actually down the street from my church. And they agreed to support me for a year so that I could take an at-home study course. Give me an opportunity to get back on my feet. They paid my rent. They paid everything. And they also gave me, money to pay my utilities and to survive, And I studied, and this was the first time ever that I nursed a child. And in learning that, I realized how much I had missed with my first two children. It is such a binding thing, such a natural thing. And, my scriptures say that God will give me back everything that the enemy has stolen from me. And I'm so grateful for that, because in this body of believers, I learned how to be a nurturing mother, not to just be overbearing and pretty much run a dictatorship. The memories. I always talk about, when you're praying and you say, Lord, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? In that apartment before they moved, and before, everything started to change in my life, and I had this new baby, and I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that this move was of God. Before I moved, one of my brothers in the salon, who's a believer, he was braiding my hair, and he told me, that this move is of God, and that you're going to meet a big woman, somebody in a high position, in high places. And he gave me other words, but he confirmed that this move is of God. And so, in sitting in that little apartment, not knowing how I'm going to pay my rent and get Pampers for this baby and take care of the other two and all these things, and I would read my scriptures, and I would journal and take notes and just cry out, Lord, what next? What am I supposed to do? What are you going to do? And that was when he would just tell me, be still and know that I'm God. Over and over, and I would pray, and those would be the words that would come. And I still, to this day, just have the paper. Be still and know that I'm God. Be still and know that I'm God. Be still and know that I am God. And he showed himself strong, and he showed himself through the faithfulness of his children, my brothers and sisters in Christ, who not only talk the talk, but they walk the walk. They were his hands and his feet in my life, and in the lives of my children, and in the lives of my nieces, and even in the life of my sister. I cannot stress enough that the Spirit of God is real, and it is available to all who would seek, to all who would ask, to all who want to know. It is available. And I would just encourage you to just receive that spirit. It's an awesome, amazing God, you know. He met me and he meets me at the point of my need, you know. It's amazing the things that kids remember. I remember, well, I didn't remember, but I think maybe this summer or a summer ago, my niece was telling me, I remember when we lived in that apartment and, you know, I had some chicken. I was frying some chicken and it was only enough to feed those kids, those chicken wings, you know, and they were like, what are you going to eat, Angie? I said, well, if everybody just gives me the tip off of their wing, then I'll be okay. You know, you just eat, don't worry about me. You know, that's how tight it had become, you know, to where, you know, it was hard trying to feed them and clothe them and everything. But the Lord never let my meal run dry. And, you know, in my natural mind, 6 months pregnant, moving to another city, starting a new clientele, you know, that's not man's wisdom. But that is, you know, what the scriptures say. Get thee up and go, you know, leave your countrymen, you know, leave all that you know, and I will teach you a new thing. You know, the scriptures say, the just shall live by faith. And that faith as small as a mustard seed to accept and believe that if I allow the Lord to come into my heart, that he would, and that he would make the changes that need to be made in me. Is all it took. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm so glad. You know, I'm so glad. Who will you make me into, Lord, this time next year? Because looking back, I'm not even the same person from then till now. And I just encourage you to taste and see that the Lord is good. Ajspeaks. Thank you guys for stopping by. Be blessed.